What is up, suckers? Are you guys ready to break down the biggest games, make some predictions, win some free stuff, and hang out with the coolest community on the internet? Of course you are! Listo! And we're gonna start with Liverpool versus Chelsea. And just think, Liverpool fans, had your team been able to concentrate for 30 extra seconds on a set piece, you would have been coming back from Spain full of confidence after beating Sevilla on the road in the Champions League. But now your 3-3 draw where you got Istanbul after being up 3-0 definitely feels like a loss. And since you haven't beaten Chelsea at Anfield, not Stamford Bridge, but Anfield since May 8th, 2012, which is a stretch of 7 games, which Chelsea have won 5 of and then drawn the other 2. It's not looking good for you, both currently and historically. However, to give Liverpool some love, despite my concerns for them, and they're always vulnerable back 4, they did pick up 4 points against Chelsea last season, which included a win at Stamford Bridge, and as is widely publicized, Reds manager Jurgen Klopp has the best head-to-head record among managers in the top 6. So, more often than not, he gets it right in these big games, but there's really nothing pointing to that actually happening. And with Chelsea looking like they're finally finding their form this season, I think it could be a long day at the office for Klopp and his men. So I'm gonna say 3-1 to Chelsea. And how about that prediction, Chelsea fans who think I hate your team? Can you decide if I truly mean this or if I'm just trying to jinx your team? And up next, it's Valencia versus Barcelona. And out of respect for the tremendous job that Valencia manager Marcelino Garcia Toral is doing, let's talk some fun facts about his club this season. 1, the last time they lost a game was May 21st. And yes, I did the math for you, that was 6 months ago. And 2, they're unbeaten in the league this season. And 3, they've won 9 league games in a row, which is a club record, and they sit in 2nd. And 4, and maybe the most impressive fun fact, former West Ham loanee Simone Zaza, who the Hammers could probably use right now, is on fire this season, scoring 9 goals in 11 games and trails only Messi on the La Liga scoring charts. But using that to transition to Messi and his club, Barcelona are also undefeated in the league this season and are having their best start to a season as well, which, I'll be honest, is a bit surprising because this squad doesn't feel anywhere near as good as some of the Barcelona teams we've seen over the years, but they've got 11 wins and a draw in 12 games with just 4 goals conceded. And even though I still think they're giving up a lot of chances every single game, thankfully Ter Stegen is standing on his head, it's hard to argue with these numbers. Also, I want to give a shout out to their new manager, Ernesto Valverde, who seems to quietly go about his business and not make everything about him like some other managers we know, because he definitely deserves some legitimate praise for the club's success. So my prediction on this one, I don't know, man. I really don't, because the 2 matches between both of these clubs last season produced 11 goals, and then seeing how both teams have combined for 65 league goals in only 12 games this season, it's gonna be a high-scoring affair. So I'm gonna say 2-2. And yes, I'm gonna correctly predict a 2-2 game at some point. I can feel it in my bones. And now let's head to Germany for the Revier derby between Borussia Dortmund and Schalke. And I would say, since Dortmund haven't won a game in almost 2 months, which is when things were super happy and everyone loved their new manager, Peter Bosch, and they were 4 points clear at the top of the table and not 9 points behind Bayern like they are now, that the only thing they have going for them at the moment is that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scored for the first time in over a month and their 2-1 loss at home to Spurs this past week. And we all know how much Aubameyang loves a derby because he loves to celebrate in style and usually as Batman. So if he's up for it, then I really feel like the black and yellow have a chance. But Schalke have been impressive lately. And that's not by blowing anyone away with champagne football or whatever, but by being quietly consistent, which finds them in 2nd place in the Bundesliga. However, Schalke have failed to beat Dortmund since 2014, and Dortmund know they need to win this game at home, no less, to appease their fans and turn their season around. But I just can't see them doing it because they look incredibly frustrated right now, both individually and as a group, while Schalke have nothing to lose because they're expected to lose. So I think they're gonna play free and easy, while Dortmund's gonna play super tight. So I actually have Schalke walking out as 2-1 winners in this one, which, if that happens, could cost Dortmund manager Peter Bosch's job. And next up, we head to France for the game of the season, Monaco versus PSG. Which might be me overhyping it a bit because, let's state the obvious, PSG got a lot better over the summer with the purchases of big players, including Monaco's Kylian Mbappe, while the reigning Ligue 1 champions sold way too many of their players, including to their rivals PSG, which doesn't seem right, which I believe just makes it hard for Monaco to keep up. They've already lost to PSG in like the French Super Cup thing, and Lyon, and a bang average Nice in the league this season, and only have 2 points after 5 games in the Champions League after making it to the semifinals last season. And with PSG averaging 3.3 goals per game since everything started back in August to go with their unbeaten record. And the comfort that comes from easily topping their Champions League group while record signing Neymar is running around in their colors. I mean, it seems like a foregone conclusion about how this game is going to go. But this is Mbappe's first trip back to Monaco since he left, and since he's young, maybe it rattles him a bit. Maybe it's just too much for him to handle, or maybe not. And the ageless wonder Falcao continues to defy the critics with his impressive 13 goals in 10 games this season. But Monaco have already played quite a few big games over these last few months, and they lost to Porto 3-0, they lost 2-1 to Besiktas, and they lost 4-1 to RB Leipzig. And not one of those clubs can compare to what's coming with PSG. So as much as I want to say that Monaco has a chance, I'm just not feeling it. And I feel like PSG is going to win this one soundly, 3-0. And finally, here's some other games I'll be keeping my eyes on this weekend. Oh yeah. These big boogly eyes are watching a lot of games, yeah. Like AC Milan versus Torino, because I want to see if Milan manager Vincenzo Montella can somehow f up Milan's sterling record against Torino, since the club hasn't lost to Torino since 2001, and I bet he f***s it up. Which is actually kind of cool if I'm being honest, because it would pave the way for manager Eno to come in. And then I'll be spying on Sydney FC versus Brisbane, mainly because the are my A-League club, and I only picked them because I love saying well, they finally won their first game of the season last week against Melbourne City, and I want to see if they can keep that momentum going against a club in Sydney FC that is easily the best club in the league. And then, saving the best for last, since leg 2 of the MLS playoff semifinals aren't happening until the middle of next week. And in case you missed hearing about it, in leg 1, Columbus and Toronto drew 0-0 in Columbus, and that was without Toronto having 2 of their best players who were suspended. And then Seattle beat Houston in Houston for the first time ever. Yes, I'm laughing at you, Houston fans. So the defending champs look to be cruising with their 2-0 lead heading into leg 2. So instead, let's focus on the Liga MX playoffs, because I want to take a quick look at the first round. And in the first matchup of the first round, it's the 8th-seeded Atlas, who've had to cope with a lot of injuries and the dicey Rafa Marquez situation, taking on the top seed Monterrey, who are easily the best team in the country by finishing the season with the most points, the most goals scored, the least conceded, and they have the league's best player on their team, the Colombian Aviles Hurtado. So it's hard to see them getting knocked out in the first round. Then in the second matchup, the 7th-seeded Lyon, who boasts a talented attack led by winger Elias Hernandez and striker Mauro Baselli, who have combined for 17 goals and 10 assists in 17 games this season, which is very impressive. Well, they're taking on the number 2 seed Tigres, whose biggest problem is that they might have too much talent in their team, which for me leads to their manager trying way too many formations to accommodate everyone, and that never bodes well. So if he and they can get out of their own way, we're probably going to see them in the final, because they are stacked. And then in the third matchup, it's the number 6 seed Cruz Azul, who are making the playoffs for the first time in 3 years, taking on the number 3 seed and one of the most successful clubs in Mexican League history, Club America, who didn't actually end the regular season well, with just 1 win in their last 4 games. But it's Club America, right? And it is. But since they created the fewest chances in the league this season, I'm not sure you can shake that when the playoffs start. You can't just flip a switch. So I actually think that Cruz Azul is going to get past them. And finally, in the last matchup, it's the 5th seed Toluca, who have a near perfect home record, probably because their home stadium is played at high altitude and they can use that to their advantage. Taking on the 4th seed Morelia, who have the best away record in the league this season, which includes them beating Toluca in Toluca last month. And I really feel like the confidence of them doing that recently will help Morelia get the results that they need in both legs so they can qualify for the next round of the playoffs. And that is it. That is all I got, except for this. Make sure you subscribe and comment on yesterday's video to be entered to win something next week when I'm giving away a lot of fun stuff. And if you predict the right score for Liverpool-Chelsea this weekend, then you will be entered to win a Warm Baller starter kit. So good luck and later.